a traffic offense within their view, they have a right, they are covered under the laws of Guyana to stop that motorist, to stop that person, to conduct the search, etc. The point is, in terms of crime, if they are to intercept a motor vehicle, or a motorcyclist, or even a pedestrian, they must have the reasonable cause to first of all, to relate to that person the reason for the stop. They cannot just randomly stop some person, and that is what we have been advocating, we have been explaining to our ranks, that they must have a reason. And the same goes for the traffic offenses, that that person who they're stopping must have some cause as to an offense committed within their view, or it could have been that someone has reported to the police at some stage via telephone or otherwise that that motorist or that person has committed an offense within their view, which is a danger to the public. It is very confrontational over the past few days, I have observed, between motorists and the police. And as I said, I'm dealing with both crime and traffic. I don't want to stick to traffic alone, because we have multiple patrols along across our division.
And definitely we'll get to that, but I know this is a little ticklish. That's why I just asked you to address it.
The thing is, the laws are clear. In terms of documents or being asked by traffic ranks per se, the laws are clear. A driver's license is once been asked by any or on demand by any member of the force, has to be produced immediately. That is the only way that you could tell if that person is licensed or if there's the identity of the person. It is also an offense if that person gives the police false information, being the driver of that vehicle. The other things the laws are also clear on is as it relates to documents. For goods transportation and public transportation vehicles, it is clear in the law that the revenue license and the certificate and fitness ought to be exhibited on that vehicle. That is clear. And this is where it will become less confrontational if it was exhibited, because all the ranks had to do was look for where they have to look for it to get the information needed. In terms of private vehicles, the law states that the revenue license ought to be exhibited. I know for a fact that insurance, they have 5 days to provide saying that the driver of the vehicle, that is not to be shown at the time of the traffic stop. So, but over the years, due to the social climate at the time, I know a policy was made by the then commissioner as to have some leniency as to the exhibition of those documents. What I want to remind drivers is that once they have committed an offense and the police or policemen or women have asked for those documents, they are to provide those documents. It is by law. They are both ticketed offenses, that is failing to exhibit it and failing to produce a driver's license. The thing is, what we have been doing some refresher training with our ranks, and we have been playing with them, is that do not arrest persons for misdemeanors. That is, in fact, that persons for ticketed offense, just to give them the ticket and let them carry on, or in cases of minor offenses in terms of traffic, is for them to take the necessary information and proceed by summons, not to arrest or discomfort anybody from taking them from point A to a police station. The only reason you will be taken to a police station is for the grave offenses, such as DUI, driving under the influence, dangerous or careless driving, because there are other procedures that needs to be done in those offenses at the police station. And even if they are taken to the police station, we implore on our ranks to, as fast as practicable, process those persons so they could carry on, so not to inconvenience them again.
Once you're saying that it is an offense to give the police wrong information, such as name and so on, it seems as if this is something that still persists, not just in traffic matters, but even in the COVID enforcement cases where they're giving wrong names, and then you're finding when it is time for the court to call up the charges, persons are coming and saying, well, this is my name, and they're now actually having their ID with their verified name, as opposed to what they would have given at the time of arrest. How are you looking to counter that?
If they're to provide that identification card on the day of the court, there are certain systems that could be placed under the laws to adjust the charges. The thing is, if they are found culpable after being investigated or having given the police false information at the time of the arrest, as I said, it's both criminal and under the Motor Vehicle Road Traffic Act. There are offenses where they could be charged.
Nice. 21 hours, 21 and 30 seconds. Police in you is on the air. And Commander Senior Superintendent Khalil Pareshram is here with us. And my next, I want to turn our attention right now to one of the things that we've been seeing many persons have been talking about is this issue of fear, particularly when a crime is meted out against them. And even the police, based on our laws, seem to have a struggle to be able to prosecute because people seem just very refusing to actually continue with the prosecution. Now, one of the arguments that they put up is that they are afraid of any reprisals that may come their way if it is that they continue with the prosecution, or even if it is that people know that they were robbed and then they know who they are, that it could open the floodgates for other people to attack them. While the police force is not in the habit of publishing names, yet still lots of media houses do find the person's names and they put it out publicly. And when these happen, people say, well, I'm not going to go and testify, it was, or they say it's...
Over the years, it's an improvement in our systems also. Some years ago, persons were afraid to come forward to the police in reporting crimes. They were afraid of the perpetrators, as you said, the reprisal. But over the years, we have seen some amendment within our laws. We have seen some new legislations. We have seen in most of our police stations where we have what we call the one-way mirrors now when we're dealing with identification parades, where we're giving victims a chance of not to come in direct contact with suspects. Even due to our COVID, the pandemic, in the setup with the courts, there are mechanisms put in place now whereby victims or witnesses are now given evidence via Skype and virtual space. And it eases that person, or the emotion of that person, or the nervousness of that person in coming in a court environment or a police station to interact.
Where they physically
with the suspects.
Understood. So you're going to have a lot more of this that is happening to be able to reduce things. So what would you say to those persons who are thinking, well, something happened to me, but I don't feel comfortable going in it? What would you say to them if they're listening right now?
What I want to say to those victims, do not be afraid. We will work with them. As I said, we have the mechanisms in place. We are improving all our processes, all our conduct in investigations. Every day we are improving. And come forward. Let us work with you. Let us bring those perpetrators to justice. That's the only way that we could bring the ease in especially victims who were afraid or who have to live with that whatever had happened for the remainder of their life. We are there to support you. Come forward and we will work with you.
All right, 2264762 is the number for you to call and share your questions with Commander Pareshram on the program, particularly if you're from Regional Division 4C. Now, Commander, if we turn our attention a little bit to something, teenagers involved in criminal activities. Just I believe it was earlier this week that someone would have had to attend court. This obviously would be a cause of concern for the police. What is your take on this, and what would you advise?
From our analysis stand, we observe a number of I won't say teenagers, but youngsters involved in crime, because some are just above the teenagers' age also. Mm-hmm. We have been working with them some years ago. Under our past 2 strategic plan, we have had the pillar of partnership of building that relationship with communities, bridging the gap with those persons, those residents. We have seen that most of the persons involved in the criminal acts, they have come from, I do not want to say depressed communities. They come from all communities, the point is. But they have come from homes, broken homes, and they have not had the opportunity, some of them, in completing even a primary school when you do check on the background of them. The thing is, from 2014 to date, when we commenced Project Impact Albistown, that was a project which we tried to connect with the youths and the residents with communities, and that have enveloped across a number of communities countrywide. In my division, we have been not targeting, but we have been working with the youths in 10 of those communities in Regional Division 4C. We have 10 youth groups and 1 Scouts groups, and this comes, as I said, under the Social Crime Prevention Plan. The thing is, we need to work with them, because if there's nobody to engage them or to work with them, to show them what is life, to give them a skill, to give them some training, to keep talking to them, they will feel either to peer pressure or groups. What I observe is some older folks are now engaging those said youths to get them into crime or to commit criminal acts. And we need to work with them. We have been working with them, and our next strategic plan, that is from 2022 to 2025, the pillar of partnership is there again, and we'll continue under that pillar to work with those youths in all the communities. I want to ask the youths, do not see the police as your enemy. That's the point. We are your friends. Work with us, we will work with you.
I like that, Commander. Don't see the police as your enemy. Work with us, we'd work with you. Now, turning our attention a little bit to some other complaints that also do come in from members of the public, and one of the complaints that they have is that lots of times, if it is that they need help for various things, whether it is noise nuisance, whether it's a crime that they suspect or they are witnessing that is being commissioned, and they're saying sometimes when they call some of the police stations and they've named some, for example, they say BV station, they get, oh, we don't have a vehicle, or oh, you got to come for us, or you got to send something for us. Is this accurate? And if so, what is being done to address it? Or would you say that this is not accurate?
I would not say it is accurate or not accurate, Stan, but what I can say that at least all of my stations across the division, we have vehicles. We are mobile, even with a motorcyclist or a bicycle. We have patrols, we have foot, we have bicycle, we have motorcycle, we have vehicles, we have ATV. And our presence is there in the communities. The point is, Stan, and something which we need to look at and which we are addressing at the administrative level, especially in our next strategic plan, is that when some of these stations were constructed. The present establishment and the geographic space was narrow. Over the years, we have had a number of communities, a number of housing schemes in those very station districts being either from start or expanded. It gives the police now, it's a challenge for them to be between X and Y. It's very difficult to be at X and be at Y at the same time, put it in short. So, for example, if in the as you said, better for acting, we have seen at least 3 to 4 new housing scheme or expansion of schemes in that area. We have seen non-reports being enveloped all the way down. We have seen schemes in Triumph, LBI, Chattanooga, Success to some extent. These are new housing scheme, added residence that the police have to provide that same service. And we have to be equal. If we provide a service to Success, we have to provide the service to non-repose. The thing is, as I said, with the resources we have at present, we cannot be in all the areas at the same time. But at the administrative level, in our next strategic plan, we are planning to increase our establishment, to put more resources out there. In the meantime, I want to urge the residents across the division, we will be there, but not at the time that they may expect us to be there, because we will have to travel from where we are to where the report is. And that may take some time depending on the location.
And this brings into focus another perspective. Oftentimes the police force keeps talking about the importance of community policing groups. We've got a few of the groups in your areas, but in your division, do you feel that there's a need for maybe some more of those community policing groups, and especially in some of those very populated districts that will require even more manpower?
We have, at present in the division, we have 29 active community policing groups spread across all the way from industry all the way to King Grove. The thing is, we have been having or getting all the support we need from those community policing groups. They are in possession of motor vehicles and other resources. And on average, on every other night per se, they are there with us. Even before I left the division to be here, I know that 2 of those groups are out with the police patrolling at present. They have been coming forward, they have been supporting us, we are very thankful for them. We have that mutual cooperation between. Up to today, we had a training meeting with them where we will advance other areas of training with them to support them. They are there to stay with us. They have shown us, and we will be working with them. They have been bridging that gap between the community where they're from and the police. They are the middleman, to put it, between the community and the police. They have been working hand in hand.
So would you publicly say kudos to them for the work they do?
Yes, I'm very thankful to them. All the members, in excess of 600 members I have in that division.
All right, so you heard it, members of the community policing groups, and I'm sure some of the special constables are going to say, well, what about us? I know how it is. But at 21 hours 35, we turn our attention right now to the whole COVID enforcement. This is going on countrywide, and I'm sure your division is not unique or different to the others, in the sense that many persons seem to have taken this laissez-faire kind of attitude, and in some cases even seeking to defy some of the COVID-19 protocols that are in place to ensure, such as breaching of curfew, the wearing of masks in public, the social distancing. And I'm sure lots of times you have to be called and to deal with issues related to such. But how effective would you say is the enforcement in your division?
We have been very effective in terms of enforcement. Thing is, all resources have been stretched between our anti-crime traffic operations and the COVID enforcement. What I'm very thankful of the commitment of my ranks during the pandemic from last year to date. They have been very committed to the job in providing that service to the communities across the division. If we were to say that the Guyana Police Force is one of the most vulnerable organizations to all the elements of COVID. But whatever, we have to work within the confines to enforce and to, at the same time, to ensure our anti-crime and traffic arrangements are in place. We have to work. We work with tens to hundreds of persons on a daily basis, and that's why I said that we are more exposed. Luckily, our figures in terms of persons who have contracted, it's a very minute number, which shows that the ranks themselves have taken consideration for their lifestyle, their health.
Right.
The communities, when it first started, we had seen the challenges, and on to today, there are still some persons who don't believe that there is COVID. There's still that young grouping that thinks that they could party or they could breach all the protocols. The thing is, we have been very heavy on enforcement across the division, and when we first started, we started through education, the process of educating the residents, the populace, on the guidelines and the measures to be taken. And it's only recently we started full enforcement as to enforcing those measures. I know for a fact that despite we were educating the residents last year, we had charged in excess of 279 persons last year. And for this year, we have charged in excess of 200 persons for various offenses under the order. 2 weeks ago, we have commenced what we call the special COVID courts across the division. That is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where there are special sittings for COVID offenses by detailed magistrates. And that has been an added advantage for us, because prior to those COVID courts, just like any other environment, the courts had not wanted to get mass gatherings within the court per se, put it like that. And they have been just dealing with just a minimal or a certain number of matters per day. But we have now gotten the advantage of our special COVID courts, and those persons are now in a faster method appearing in courts. For example, like 5 weeks ago, we had to wait on a torrent system to get them to court, but now it's immediate. But at the same time, there's still bunches of persons who continue to defy. They have learned the new methods, for example, also. You would not know if there's a house party. They are in so secure environments now. You would not even hear the music playing, how they're locked away in environments, because they're afraid. Most of the enforcement, the Guyana Defense Force has been supportive of us. We normally have joint COVID Corps patrols, as we put it, especially on weekends. And together with the task force, we have been working towards enforcing those measures.
We've seen in social media some of the attempts to escape, or even successful escape, from what people have termed the omnibus, and sometimes giving the police what in Guyanese parlance is a flingings that occurs. So would you say that the ranks in your division are physically fit and prepared to, in some cases, be running behind people when they're running away?
We would not run behind them. The point is that we want them to know, or to get them to know, that they must, adhere to the guidelines. The thing is, by one way simply signifies that they know that they are committing a breach. And that is what they will do. All we want them is to get home and be in adherence to all the measures.
Definitely. And quite an interesting scenario that occurs. And I like how you say, just get home and be in safe. But outside of those people, I think one of the other serious things that you've got tackling you and challenging is the fact that there are also businesses that are seeking to defy some of the COVID measures, which obviously puts a little bit more work on you. To those businesses in Regional Division 4C that are perhaps not compliant, we've got complaints that in some cases what they do is that they shut the business doors just around the time of the curfew with the patrons inside, and as you would have mentioned, turn the music way down, or they seal up the place and they have them in there. In some cases, your ranks would have had to go and actually effect arrests when fights and so on broke out in the wee hours of the morning. What would you say to those businesses that are continuing to flout that to continue their business?
During the pandemic, we have had several meetings with a number of those proprietors, and they are fully aware of the measures. And our posture at this time is that we are prosecuting. As I said, we have finished the period of educating. We are now in the prosecution mode. So they are fully aware that if they are caught, they are being prosecuted.
I like that. If you are caught, businesses, you will be prosecuted. So make sure you adhere to the COVID guidelines. And come on, 21 hours 43 here on Police and You. I want to turn attention to a very sensitive and ticklish situation that seems to be on the increase, not just in Guyana or in your region or per se, but the world over. Figures are showing that because of most likely the lockdown due to the pandemic, a lot more of issues of rape has been occurring, or even sexual molestation of young girls, young boys, and even older males and females. This is obviously cause of concern by not only the Ghana Police Force, but all of those other agencies that have oversight of a situation like this. What are some of the advisory tips you would give to people in your community if it is that, on the one hand, they have been subjected to some sort of sexual assault, and two, if it is that they do suspect that someone is being subjected to such?
The thing is, Stan, that every crime committed is a concern to us. The point is that in terms of rape, it is not much of a burden to my division. Presently, in comparative to last year, January 1st to date, we are enjoying a 57% decrease in serious crimes in that.
Awesome.
The thing is, just like some other divisions, there are just three categories of offenses that we looked at or been hampering our operations, and that, as you said, rape is one, break-in offenses and robberies. The rapes that we have been getting, they are more of the statutory rapes offenses, and that is persons, the victims being under the age of 16, who under the law they cannot give consent to sex. But when it's so being reported, we have to conduct our investigations and seek the necessary legal advice on the way forward. These are the youths that we, as I said earlier, we need to work with, and we have been working with them. We have not seen many instances of forced rape in my division. It's very minute. It's a very minute number.
And that is a very good thing. But what would you say to persons if they suspect? Because we know there is a stigma that is attached to situations like that. And lots of times victims may not necessarily come forward, but then someone knows of it. What would you say to them in terms of dealing with that?
There are several hotlines that they could call. There is a 914 hotline, and that is the Ministry of Human Services, which will be then before calls to us for us to investigate. There is the Child Care Agency, and even at our police stations, we have special environments to deal with gender-based violence. That is both sexual offenses, youth crimes, and domestic violence within the Open Inquiries Office, or for everybody to see or everybody to hear what is happening. It's been dealt with in a very confidential way. So if there is a victim out there, as I said earlier in one of the discussions, once you come forward, we will work with you throughout that investigation.
All right. What would you say is the state of domestic violence in your division?
Like any populated division or like any country division, domestic violence do pushes its head above. We have a zero tolerance approach to domestic violence. That is the Guyana Police Force. The point is, what we've been having some challenges is that some of the victims, especially the females, because the suspects tend to be the breadwinners of those home or the head of the family, they are very reluctant in terms of going to court to prosecute or to put an end to what is happening. In most instances, they will not want to give the police a statement to complete the investigations. And it's something that we have to work with. These are some social issues that we need to work with communities, not only the force, but other stakeholders.
All right, 2148 here on the program. 6320147, you can send me a message via WhatsApp, your question for the commander, and we've got a couple coming in, but I just want to put another question to you before we get to that, or you can actually call 2-64762 and share with us. But Commander, we talked about rape, we talked about domestic violence. Another issue is, and this is for the entire country, suicide. How are we grappling and dealing with that?
As I said, the social issues, all stakeholders need to grapple the bundles together and work with the communities. We have not had much of incidents of suicide in the division, but as you aware, Stan, we have the suicide hotlines. Our numbers are published at all the stations and on the internet. If there are persons that are having those suicidal thoughts, or if you know of anybody who is having those thoughts, just call the hotline. We have our arrangements in place, we have our counselors in place, we have persons that you could talk to ease those suicidal thoughts.
Let me turn to a question coming from someone who is listening to you right now, Commander. As a matter of fact, from two persons on the very same issue, which seems to be a sore issue for them. It's the matter of tint. So one, they're asking, whilst I know you're not the traffic chief, but as a commander, you will know, they're asking what is the legal percentage of tint that is allowed, and the other part of that, with the explanation is, I said, they just heard you mentioned that persons are only to be taken in for serious offenses that relates to traffic, being things like DUI and dangerous drivers. So asking if it is soup, why is it that police continue taking persons at tint? And if you're saying that shouldn't be, then what should civilians do? And what methods are you going to put in place to guard against police doing this? But this is particularly, should they take them into the station for tint?
Tint, I know it's a topical issue. The laws are clear on tint. It tells the rank who have observed a motor vehicle being tinted, whatever is the level. It speaks clearly about visual, observing the occupants, observing the drivers, not bearing the fact that the factors of distance and both the natural and physical factors of lighting conditions takes effect there, because what you may see stand from a certain distance I may not see in terms of having a view of the occupants of a vehicle. What you may see in a hot midday sun, you may not be able to see in the evening or early morning or in an overcast condition. So lighting conditions plays a major role in terms of visibility. We continue to adhere to the laws that laid out, and it speaks on visibility of the occupants. We are not adhering to anything as it relates to percentage. The law does not state anything on percentage. It only speaks on visibility. The thing is, persons who wants to have a tint permit, the only authority to give that tint permit is the Honorable Minister, and it's a process where they have to apply for that permit, which when granted by the Minister, they will have to carry it to the Traffic Chief's office, Traffic Headquarters, for a certain process to take place, and then they are issued that permit. If we were to go along the line as it in respect of persons being arrested for tint, it's automatically that their certificate of fitness ought to be revoked. And that is one of the reasons they have to be taken to the station, because under the said laws or regulations, they cannot drive further from there.
Another thing with the traffic, and particularly with vehicles, is that there seems to be an increase in the use of blue lights in the white light area of vehicles. Many persons are actually complaining about this. They're saying it's dangerous, it's blinding to them. Several would have sent such complaints to the Public Relations Department of the Ghana Police Force, and asking for us to address this. And we've had situations too where not only those lights in the white light area that they're putting, but now people are actually adding other colors of lights on their vehicles. What would you say to this, and is there going to be any action to have them desist from this?
We do have special operations to target those defaulters, especially in the nights across the division. Once they are found culpable, their fitness certificate of fitness is revoked, and they're sent to remedy same, and then to come back for their vehicle to be examined prior to prosecution.
Is there any penalty that they pay outside of the fact that that is revoked?
That's for the courts to decide.
For the courts, so they can be charged and placed before the courts?
Yes.
All right. How much would you say that this will affect or hamper other people to the extent that it maybe even contributes to some of the accidents that do occur? Have you had so far any cases where persons would have indicated that this blue light was shining in my eye and I couldn't see, hence I ran off the road or anything like that?
I would not say yes, or I would not say no at this stage. Because as you're aware, the East Coast Highway especially is lit. So the lighting conditions here may be different to other divisions.
Okay. All right, quite interesting. So another person would have texted, I don't know if this is in your purview, is asking why are they saying non-emergency vehicles in the district be allowed to have sirens, and if it is that the police are giving permission for this.
The laws are clear as in respect of sirens on emergency vehicles, and in all our theoretical classes, it's clear that there's only three categories or organizations that ought to have sirens on their vehicles, and that is the police, fire, and the ambulance services.
So within your district, can you say with confidence that there are no non-emergency vehicles that carries sirens?
We have made some arrests in our in my division in terms of persons with the flashing lights. I know for a fact, and they are pending. Their investigations are still pending because it's a process.
It's a process. All right. As we get ready to put a wrap on things, I want to posit to you a final question. You give us an overview of crime in your division to date. Earlier in the year, the first quarter, countrywide crime was reported to be down by 36%. We're coming to the end of the second quarter of the year. From then to now, how would you report on crime in Regional Division 4C?
The good thing, Stan, as I said earlier, we have, due to the dedication, the commitment of my ranks, and our operational, both traffic crime and our social crime prevention plan, we have been enjoying a 57% decrease in serious crimes across the division, comparative from January 1st to the 7th of June.
Awesome.
Thing is, none of the 11 offenses we have seen an increase. We have seen decreases in all the categories of offenses.
All right, I think we have just about a minute or so to take your call on 2264762. I know the phone was lighting up there just a moment ago, Commander. And I just wanted to be able to give final opportunity to those of you who've got questions and want to be able to get through. Some did come through via the social media and WhatsApp, and we'd love to hear from you if it is that you've got a question for the commander. But nevertheless, Regional Division number 4C was in the spotlight tonight on the police and you, and I want you to reiterate, Commander, that there's a huge effort to actually work with the residents in your community and to make sure that you have better relations. But just before you do answer that, let's see what this person may have to say who is trying to come through. Caller, good night. Welcome to the Police and You.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
For the commander. Today I spoke to the commander concerning a very ticklish issue where a businessman had a vehicle that was calling to alleged hijack, and it was at his business place doing the own thing in terms of removing chassis numbers and certain parts. And however the police went, there were evidence that such of activities did going on, but no arrest was made, and they got to wait on GRA to go with them. Now my question is, from the time the police went there, most obviously they didn't know what they were doing. They were trying to start to get rid of these evidence. In my view, I think the person should be arrested and placed there, because they admit they have vehicle, but they don't have registration and there's evidence. But I think the police, there's something, give them a break to go out to get rid of the evidence before, because I don't guarantee when they go back, that gentleman won't keep those evidence there. I wish if you can comment more on it.
All right, thanks for coming through, caller. Commander?
Yes, I did spoke to that caller earlier this morning based on a report he had made in another division as it relates to a stolen motor vehicle. My ranks accompanied him to the area. They spoke to the persons who had some valid reasons, but I want to agree with him to some sort that there are some investigations we have to continue, and we have commenced him late this afternoon by partnering with our other stakeholders, other agencies who should have been involved, and we are working towards it.
All right. So someone asked, a parent is asking, they're saying that, Commander, what can you share about what we need to do about loud music in cars, which is affecting students with online courses?
The thing is, Stan, Noise nuisance. I know it's a pivotal issue across Guyana, not only the division. It's very clear under the laws, that's Section 174 of the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act 802, that for the police to prosecute persons as it relates to making loud or continuous noise, we need to have a reporter. And if we need to have a reporter, we need to have a written statement. And from that written statement, that person has to go to the magistrate court to give that evidence. That's the only way that we could successfully prosecute someone on noise nuisance. I know there have been several reports coming into the various stations on noise nuisance, but reporters are reluctant to give their identity, they're reluctant to give a statement. All they need a warning, and that would not suffice. The only warning that is legally binding is when those defendants are bonded or fined by the magistrate.
So it takes more of the civilians, yes, to actually come forward, be willing to actually press the charge and to testify, as you mentioned.
Yes.
In order for the police to be able to effectuate that process that you mentioned.
To get something to finality.
All right, thanks. I certainly hope that answered your question for those of you who sent through, particularly that one. And simply because the time is wrapping up, Commander, I want to say thank you very much for spending some time with us on the police and you. And as is normal, your division, the people in your area, how can they make contact with you if it is that they'd like to be able to reach out to you about anything, whether it is collaboration, like you've got going on with many of those youth groups and the CPGs, or whether it is to maybe just get some guidance on how to go about making reports?
I have an open door policy at divisional headquarters, that is Cove and John. You could come anytime, whether you have an issue, whether you have information, whether you have anything to share with the police, or if you're willing to work along with the police in our social crime prevention plans. We have a good relationship with the corporate and business sector in our districts, and not only the CPGs, but all. We tend to work with everybody. Apart from that, I can be contacted on 620-6605 or 660-2258.
All right, Commander, I would like to say thank you very much once again for spending some time with us, and certainly want to wish you the best of success as you continue to provide service and protection to the people of Regional Division 4C.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you to all of you listeners who have been tuned in tonight, and those of you who have been tuned in not only via radio at VOG 102.5 FM, but also via our Facebook at Ghana Police Force, as well as on YouTube. A big thank you for joining us. And this has been a production of the Corporate Communications Unit of the Ghana Police Force. Technical credits to Simeon Brown, and lights and camera to NCN Johannes Vera. I am Stan Gouveia on behalf of the Ghana Police Force saying thanks for joining us. Good night.